Halloween is probably the biggest day of the year for fear of all sorts, especially if you're near a cemetery.
What in the hell is going on out here? Get back in your grave!
If you're the type who doesn't scare easily, there are several old cemeteries around the world, some of which are popular tourist attractions. But if you're a scaredy cat, you might want to skip this one because we've gathered all the spookiest burial grounds in the world into one shiver-inducing list. Here are the 10 scariest cemeteries on Earth. What's up, Ecnetics? This is Discovery Amuse, serving up your daily dose of the most outrageous, outlandish, and out-of-this-world fun facts. Stay tuned for number 1 because that will surely scare the living daylights out of you. Number 10. Greyfriars Kirkyard. Body snatchers, violent ghosts, and Harry Potter characters may seem like strange bedfellows, but in Scotland's gorgeous Gothic capital city of Edinburgh, the four merge to make up the ghostly lore surrounding one of the world's most haunted graveyards. If you're a certified Potterhead, you may have heard of Greyfriars Kirkyard. Harry Potter devotees make pilgrimages to the site, leaving notes and flowers on the 197-year-old grave that inspired the names of Tom Riddle, Alistair Mad-Eye Moody, and Professor Minerva McGonagall.
Pierre Totem Locomotor.
Probably the world's most dangerous graveyard, Greyfriar is so renowned for its violent paranormal activity that it was made inaccessible to tourists. While most haunted cemeteries have a variety of ghosts and weird phenomenon, Greyfriars has one rather angry spirit. It's allegedly haunted by the ghost of George Mackenzie, aka the Mackenzie Poltergeist, whose spirit is said to have been released by a homeless man who broke into his grave in 1999.
He ended up falling through the floor. It's a wooden floor underneath in the burial chamber, and as he did so, he knocked the coffin of George Mackenzie. The coffin fell over. George Mackenzie's body, unfortunately, came out.
George Mackenzie was a ruthless prosecutor who brutally imprisoned thousands of Scottish Covenanters in the 17th century. He had them locked up in what is known as the Covenanters' Prison, which is located near the mausoleum where Mackenzie was laid to rest. Today, tour purveyors conducting nighttime excursions around the graveyard have reported some mysterious happenings. Many participants have emerged from inside the prison and mausoleum with bruises, burns, scratches, and even broken bones attributed to long-dead prisoners and their violent oppressor.
My back actually feels like it's on fire. It's the most bizarre thing. It feels like I've been whipped.
Several famous paranormal investigators have visited the site, and many claim to see orbs floating among the small ruined tombstones. With a violent poltergeist known to harm late-night visitors and a history of stolen bodies, it's no wonder Greyfriars Kirkyard is one of the most haunted cemeteries in the world. If that had you quaking in your boots, just wait until you hear about our number 1 pick. Number 9. Stull Cemetery. The Stull Cemetery in Stull, Kansas already has the perfect horror movie setting, a sleepy town and an abandoned church. The local graveyard has quite the sinister reputation too, all because of horror stories that got way out of hand. Back in 1974, a piece that was published in the student newspaper of the University of Kansas sparked a wild rumor that the devil visits Stull Cemetery during Halloween and spring equinox.
No way.
Rumors then spread like wildfire, and the once peaceful town became known as the Gates of Hell. Several stories have been passed down over the years of witchcraft and diabolical occurrences surrounding the overgrown cemetery and its crumbling church.
There's literal fires, patches of them all over the cemetery. It's not a controlled burn. We don't know where it's coming from. There's no bonfire anywhere. There's no leaf piles.
Its age, coupled with its lack of upkeep, makes for a straight-up haunting cemetery. Number 8. Old Jewish Cemetery. This place may look like something out of a horror movie, but this is a real cemetery located in the vibrant city of Prague in Czech Republic. The Old Jewish Cemetery in Prague is a small cemetery that is said to house more than 12,000 graves. However, an estimation suggests that while approximately 12,000 tombstones are there, it actually holds about 100,000 burials.
Oh God.
This explains why thousands of crumbling medieval headstones are clustered so close together, and you wouldn't be able to walk around the graves even if you're brave enough to actually set foot in this eerie place.
The oldest one belongs to Abigdor Kara. It was a very famous person, a man that survived one of the biggest pogrom, big attacks against Jews that happened here in the old town of Prague in the end of 14th century.
It's a Jewish custom not to remove old graves, so over the centuries people had to pile the dead on top of one another. It's said that one marked grave has up to 12 bodies stacked one over the other. Whoa, overcrowding is real even in the afterlife.
Can someone exhale so I can inhale? Equal rights for all skin rash people!
Number 7. Catacombs of Paris. Did you know that hidden right underneath the City of Lights is a subterranean labyrinth that has over 200 miles of bone-lined walls and houses the skeletal remains of around 7 million former Parisians?
Literally lost in the catacombs with no guide. Yeah, that's what they came here with no guide. Yeah, and they're lost. They literally don't know how to get out. They're just stuck.
This isn't their original burial ground, though. Since the Roman times, Parisians have been burying the dead in above-ground cemeteries in the middle of town. However, as time went by, these burial grounds became too overcrowded. Church graveyards were quite full, and folks began to bury their loved ones in shallow graves in the backyards of their homes or on illegal burial sites. The king then ordered all graveyards in Paris to be shut down and to have the bodies transferred to the city's unused underground tunnels, which were once limestone mines in the 13th century. Today, dark tourists sneak into the catacombs but enter at your own risk because it's considered trespassing and is therefore illegal.
I am legitimately sitting on hundreds, if not thousands, of dead bodies right now. And there's nothing I can do about it because the entire floor, everything basically, is made of human skeletons.
Number 6. Recoleta Cemetery. Graveyards can be very morbid places. However, they can also be places of celebration where a person's life can be remembered. The Recoleta Cemetery in Buenos Aires, Argentina, is a popular tourist attraction for it has graves of many renowned people of Argentina, including that of the famous First Lady Eva Perón.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
This cemetery is filled with picturesque and lavish vaults, but that's not the only thing said to call the grounds home. One of the mausoleums in this cemetery is that of Rufina Cambaceres, a beautiful Buenos Aires socialite who passed away due to a heart attack. She died in 1892 at the age of 19 after the deaths of many around her, and when exhumed, she seemed to have shifted in her coffin. The lid was said to have been broken in various places. Suspecting that it might have been a grave robbery, a worker opened the coffin only to find the insides covered in scratches and Rufina's hands and face bruised like she was trying to break out. That story then evolved into numerous tales about grave robbing, which apparently is still a thing, if you're looking for some further very interesting reading. Some visitors have also reported a sense of unease while on the grounds of the cemetery, especially at night, no duh.
Well, obviously.
Number 5. Valley of the Kings. The Valley of the Kings, located in Luxor, Egypt, was considered as the primary burial place of royal figures and privileged nobles of the Egyptian New Kingdom. In fact, in 1922, the valley gained more international attention from the public when the tomb of the young pharaoh Tutankhamun was discovered here by British archaeologist Howard Carter.
The innermost, made of solid gold and covered in gemstones. And inside that, the mummy of Tutankhamun.
Since then, it has become one of the most famed archaeological sites in the world, and that's not just because of the intricate design and artifacts inside. There have been rumors circulating that anyone who disturbs the tombs will be struck down by the curse of the pharaohs. People speculated that this might be the reason for the early deaths of some of those involved in the discovery of King Tut's tomb.
Go!
Number 4. Resurrection Cemetery. The Chicago area has several allegedly haunted cemeteries, but this graveyard in Justice, Illinois might be the creepiest. Ever hear the urban legend about the driver who picked up a hitchhiker, then dropped her off at a cemetery where she turned into a ghost? One of America's favorite ghost stories, particularly for Chicagoans, is the tale of the vanishing hitchhiker, Resurrection Mary.
Resurrection Mary's story should be given a lot more credence than other ghost stories around Chicago, just for the fact that there are so many good witnesses that are out there.
Since the 1930s, a number of people who drove by Archer Avenue have claimed seeing a young female hitchhiker dressed in white with blonde hair and blue eyes. Witnesses also say the woman asks to be dropped off at the cemetery, whereupon she disappears. There's even an account of a man allegedly meeting a woman at a bar and offering to take her home, but when they drove by Resurrection Cemetery,
he offered to drive her the rest of the way home. Instead, she put her hand on his and said, "Where I'm going, you can't follow."
Number 3. Capuchin Monastery Catacombs. The Capuchin monks of Palermo, Italy used to bury their dead in a traditional cemetery. But when it started to become overcrowded in the 16th century, they decided to excavate crypts underground. When Father Silvestro of Gubbio died in 1599, the friars mummified his corpse and placed it inside the catacomb. Instead of burying the remains, they were either hung in a standing position from the walls or displayed in glass caskets.
When the Capuchins went on missions, especially in Mesoamerica, the ethnic cultures there introduced them to the ways they processed dead bodies.
The friars mastered this preservation method, and it eventually became a tradition. Of the close to 2,000 bodies displayed inside the catacombs, one of the most famous ones is the perfectly preserved remains of a girl named Rosalia Lombardo, who tragically died of pneumonia at the age of 2.
She was stunning, she was beautiful, she was very sweet, and no one could give me an explanation for this exceptional embalming.
Number 2. Highgate Cemetery. The cemetery's tombs and buildings are constructed in an imposing Victorian Gothic style, and during the mid to late 1800s, it was a highly sought-after burial ground. Among the impressive Victorian and Egyptian-influenced tombs are the gravestones of Karl Marx, recognizable by the glowering bearded bust, sci-fi author Douglas Adams, James Holman, a sightless 19th century adventurer known as the Blind Traveler, and Adam Worth, a famous criminal and the possible inspiration for Sherlock Holmes' nemesis, Professor Moriarty. Oh, and the unmarked tomb of the legendary George Michael can also be found here.
Yes, I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith.
In the 1960s, the public regained its interest in the cemetery, but not in a good way. Stories of people seeing a tall, dark figure with a ghoulish face floating around the graves quickly circulated and caused a vampire panic that was later dubbed as the Highgate vampire sensation.
You know it, man. Okay.
People began to mob the graveyard at night, hoping to catch the so-called vampire. Things worsened when a pair of magicians named Sean Manchester and David Ferrand declared a vampire hunt. However, no vampire was ever found. Before we go to our number 1 pick, do us a solid and make sure to smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to choose all so you won't miss out on any of our latest life-changing, boredom-busting content, and of course, be sure to turn on notifications in your app settings. Number 1. La Noria Cemetery. Located in a remote place in the Atacama Desert in Chile, the deserted town of La Noria was once a saltpeter mining hub in the 1800s. During the saltpeter boom, thousands of people settled in the place, but when the supply and demand plummeted, people slowly moved out and left some of their belongings. The abandoned town has been looted over the years, especially their cemetery. When the people left, they left behind their dead loved ones who are now said to haunt the cemetery and the town. Headstones are broken, fences are torn and falling down, and overgrowth swallows the cemetery whole. If you ever find yourself exploring the grounds, be extra careful. You might just step on opened coffins and scattered human bones.
This is more props. This is where they want. Oh!
There are also reports of apparitions, odd sounds when no one is around, and ghosts appearing in pictures. So, which of these spooky places gave you the heebie-jeebies? Let us know in the comments section below. Take home any of our exclusive gear by browsing our merch shelf or clicking the link in the video description. And while you're at it, take our quiz to find out how you can earn extra cash online doing what you do best. Awesome, right? You're in for a wild ride because coming right up is our countdown of the 8 cool ideas to prepare for a zombie apocalypse. Till then, stay spirited, Factnatics, and see you in the next video.